Hi guys, this is Luton, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game of Rush on Death Valley. Now, a lot of people have been complaining that as defenders, most of these games are pretty much unwinnable. To be honest, I strongly disagree. It's not down to that, it's just down to the fact that people don't know how to properly defend. Same with the AC-130. I'm not sure where people are getting this figure about you need 3 to 4 team members to take the AC-130 down. I'm not sure why it takes 4 people to take it down. In my experience, all you need is 1 or 2. One jet pilot, one guy on the ground with an Igla. Perhaps 2 guys on the ground with the Igla, because if the jet's doing something else, so he's not very good. So yeah, not sure where you're getting this 3 to 4 people from, because that's a massive waste of your infantry space, because, you know, it's loads more people than you need to actually shoot it down. In fact, to be honest, one person can take it down, which I did on one of my games. I spent the entire round, doing that, just focus firing the Igla, picking up ammo, and yeah, it was not a big deal. I'm not sure, but a lot of people seem to be making a lot of fuss about these things, and not sure why, because to be honest, it's fine. So anyway, the problem with defense is mainly due to the fact that people make some quite basic gameplay mistakes. We are really talking literally 101 ABCs of how to play Battlefield mistakes. That's generally why people lose defense bases. What are those mistakes? Well, it tends to be that people sit too far back in the base. For example, look at my map right now. See where I am right here? Kind of on the outskirts of the base, generally dealing with the issues. Where's the rest of our team? To be honest, they're kind of at the back. There's one guy up here with me, but that's about it. And they have set up no real kind of perimeter around the base at all. That is a major failing, because, as I've mentioned about 1,000,000 times on my videos, if you don't have people in front as a kind of buffer zone, then what will happen is the enemy will push right up to that. Look, you can see behind me, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue dots all up here on the right. They're not even in the base. They're nowhere near us. The reason I'm posting this though is because I wanted to show that even with a team that seems terrible, during this game I had team chat on, and I was telling my guys all the way through in my typical rantish way, like, get up forward, blah blah blah, and I was just shouting in general at people to move up. By the time we got to the final base, they finally kind of got it. And I have to say as well, the last base on Death Valley is not that easy, because it's very, very open. You don't have particularly strong natural defences compared to some of these other bases. This second base, I would say, is much easier to defend, but as is generally the case, when you start a new base, people are not very good at moving forward to where they need to be, moving up to the objectives. Now you see, I'm focusing on taking this down. Look at the map right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys on our right hand side. However, they don't really push towards B, and you'll see why in a minute. So moving forward to the right positions is obviously really important. But look, this thing is going down not very hard. Me and the jet are taking this thing out, no problem at all. You know, it's just going through, going down. Come on, fence. Thank you very much. But you can see, look, they've already started flanking into the base and getting in behind, and it's all about people moving up and taking control of the base here. Now, actually, we have got 1 or 2 guys over towards B, but again, still a large amount of people kind of clustering around A here, for no real reason. There's nothing happening at A, but look at B. There we go. How many people are up there now? No one. There's no one there. There was maybe 1 or 2 people there. You know, it's pretty obvious that what they're going to do is come straight up the hill and go straight to B. So when you spawn on this second base, you need to move up to B, okay? Even if it's literally a case of moving up and starting to mark targets. Now, I'm desperately trying to get there myself, but I have, you know, there's only one of my squad mates with me right here, and obviously it's too late, and I get cut to pieces. Purely because people didn't move up. It's not that, again, you know, the AC-130 was not in the air. It wasn't dominating us. The other problem is that if you don't prioritise your targets, as I've said again many times, if you don't prioritise your targets, what will happen is your game will start to spiral out of control very quickly. I did a video about this recently. If you don't keep the AC-130 down, right, what will happen is that then you end up with a situation like that where they get the target armed, because maybe everyone else isn't doing their job either and not focusing on marking and preventing the lines. Once that happens, if a target is armed and the AC-130 is in the air, you will probably not be able to defend it, because it will literally spam fire on the armed objective, because they know you're going to be trying to defuse that target. So you need to prioritize kind of in order things to destroy, and your team need to be aware of this, okay? Now, I said to the guys in the game, I said, you know, in this game you can see, right, I'm focusing as the AC-130 is my objective. I'm trying to keep it down. At the same time, I'm also trying to do some defense. On a different game, I went with javelins and mines, and I was focusing, it was Bandar, and I was focusing on keeping that down. We had several bases on that round where we got them down to maybe 5 tickets on a base, but they managed to get a fluke arm at the end, and then the AC-130, you know, prevented us from disarming it. I said, guys, why is no one shooting the AC-130 down? Oh, well, we were shooting it down, but we blew it up, so we, you know, changed and we were doing something else. Well, it's going to come back, and not only that, but it needs to be someone's job that they constantly focus on taking that out. You need to really, you know, assign it as a role. You know, this is my role for this game. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out the AC-130. Just as the same as in some games, you might say, okay, I'm going to play as a support class. I'm going to back you guys up. I'm going to play as an assault class. Now, you obviously also, you always want to be flexible. You want to be flexible, and you need to be ready to change your class on any situation. However, it is good to have a kind of primary mindset. And you can see, because that B base and the AC-130 was up putting fire down, the second one got pushed over. It's also, though, again, due to positioning. Our guys, again, were sitting back in the base. They weren't sitting, you know, in front and buffering the objective. So therefore, it means, and you can see how quickly, look, they're pushing into the base now. They're using momentum, okay? They're pushing fast into the next base. They're not waiting. They're not sitting around the objective. I had a game last night as well where this guy said, he was like, oh, I was sitting 40 meters away from the objective, and I was putting good fire, I was getting good kills, and I was letting people respawn on top of me. And I said, well, that's great, but if you sit 40 meters away, you're never going to take that objective, because everyone else is doing the same thing. I've noticed this very, very often on attacking teams as well, when they have a difficult base to get into. Because it's a bit of a difficult base, and they know there's a bit of a chance that they might die a few times, rather than actually go into the base, they will kind of sit back and go, you know, I'm gonna let people spawn off me, I'm gonna get the kills, yeah, I'm gonna help my team like that, you know, suppress them and stuff. Yeah, all that's going to happen is that everybody else is going to do that, and then nothing will happen, and then you'll be down to like 20-30 tickets because there's 4 guys who are trying to get into the base alone. They won't be able to, and then you won't win like that either. So now on this next base, right, this is a slightly more, it increases in its defendability, I would say. Okay, you can set up a better perimeter on this one than the other base, mainly because the other base you can kind of flank right around, you can come up over the front, you've got access into the base much easier. Now, okay, this one kind of has that as well, but I think geographically it has a little bit of a better defense. However, you need to ensure that you do have a good spread of people, and this is what I was trying to explain to my guys. Now, you can see on the map here a little bit better. Okay, we've got about 4 guys down at B. However, the guys at A are taking a beating, and they're taking a beating because, yet again, they're not near the objective. Look, they're sitting back over here by these houses. They haven't moved up to A, they haven't moved in front, they haven't set up a line. So, of course, what's happened is the enemy team have moved straight forward, armed the objective, and once they've got the objective armed, they don't need to proactively get into the enemy. All they need to do is sit and cover anyone who tries to go for that disarm. So that's why it's extremely important that you do create this kind of buffer. You need to imagine like an imaginary line just you know, sort of 10 meters in front of the objective, and what you're doing by sitting at that distance is you're sort of acting as a, like I say, a buffer, a zone which the attackers can come up to and have to deal with before they get to the objective. Sitting behind and shooting out at something is not a good thing to do, because as I've said before, what will eventually happen if you do that is that the enemy will surround you and then kill everything inside, and then you will continually respawn at the defender's point. They will push you back, push you back, push you back. So you need to go ever so slightly in front of the objective, alright? Now, you can see that I'm sitting back here right now. It's because if you look at the map, we still have like 3 or 4 guys here, and I was trying to cover this left-hand side. Again, you need to prioritize your situation regardless of it, okay? So as I say, whilst I say it's really important to have people in front, at the same time, you need to look actively at your map. You need to look at your map. You need to decide what is going on in that situation and make a judgment based on that fact. Now you can see though, because again we didn't have a great dealing with the guys up the front. They've pushed forward into the base pretty hard, but I'm trying to push forward. I'm trying my best to actually move forward. Often when a base is overrun like this, people can tend to get a little bit freaked out, and they don't want to move forward too much. You need to. If your base has been overrun, you need to try and get forward. You need to try and deal with the enemies. Changing back to the igloo there because the tank got taken down, and I just decided, okay, don't need to deal with that really. And this is why I say, look, trying to get back to the objective as quickly as possible. The other thing to remember is that, you know, when people are defending or attacking, you make mistakes in game. There's going to be moments where, you know, things just don't go according to plan, and that's just natural. It's natural for everyone to have those situations. When you're stressed and when there's a huge amount of action happening, you're not always going to have the ideal, perfect, 100% clear head. And it's important for everyone to remember that. Okay, it's important to remember that in all situations, everyone's human, and there are going to be times when you make errors. I was kind of annoyed here because I couldn't reload, and then I wanted to escape, and I couldn't because the guys were stood in the doorway here. I wanted to kind of jump out that door, get a quick reload, turn around, and get back in on this guy. The thing that I don't understand, though, is, you know, they're still flanking into the base on the right-hand side. And again, look at where our guys are on the map right now. See how they're not moving forward, look? There's like 3 of them in a cluster. Look, you see what they're doing? The guy in my squad here, they're sitting back on this rock. And you see in their mind what they're thinking is, this is great, I can sit on this rock here and I can shoot down into that objective. However, in reality, that isn't probably really going to work, because what will eventually happen is the tank will move up, the infantry guys will move up around there, they'll drop some smoke, whatever, maybe they'll get flanked and they'll get taken out from that ridge. It's better to go in front than behind. And again, continue to look at the minimap. You see how our guys are now pushing forward a little bit, which is a much, much better thing to do. But really, really, really try and keep this in your mind when you're playing of where you need to be. And funnily enough, look, you can see that the base is slowly getting cleared out. And it's important to and look how the tank has moved up exactly like I said now, because it's got no people in front of it to actually deal with it at all. And our guys are spawning further and further back. The target's armed. And, you know, we've been so obsessed now with dealing with the guys on the ground that the AC-130s not get taken down anymore. And that's in the air. And you can see how this now gets out of control and we start to lose the base, basically. So now we move on to the last base. Now, as I say, this one, it's a bit of a learning curve, but it does start to pick up a little bit. I often say as well that when you finish a base as a defender, it's better to pull back immediately. I was just kind of irritated that we lost this base, so I was like, I must get some kills. But then I remembered my training, and I decided to kind of just flank here, hold the line. I just wanted to sort of prevent them moving up a little bit. Unfortunately, the gunship decided to stop that from happening. But most of the games that I've seen where people don't win on defense, as I say, there was many games last night that were very, very close. The other thing people need to try to remember is to not bunch up. Don't run around in big groups of like 4 or 5. Look at this, look at this, look at this right in front of us. Armed, everyone runs away, they leave B basically completely empty. It's hilarious when you see people running together like a big group of geese or something, or ducks, and like... But anyway, the one thing that you need to remember is that you don't want to bunch up. You don't want to be in the same place as everyone else, because when you do, that's when you start leaving gaps in the defense line. And it's a really, really, really bad thing to be able to do. If everyone is staying together constantly all the time, the other thing to remember is that it'll make you a very, very big target for the AC-130. What the hell is going on with my aim here? Yeah, if you sit together in a big group, that means that the AC-130 is going to have even better chance of destroying you in one, short burst, because you're all just, hugging each other, basically. Think about a base like this, okay? You need to spread out around the base in order to successfully mark and find all of the targets, because with only 12 people on a team, you really need to spread yourselves out. To be honest as well, when people go on about the difference between PC and PS3 or Xbox, they go on about complaining about how they feel sorry for everyone and blah blah blah. To be honest, I wanted to mention really, really quickly, I might do it on another video as well. In my opinion, right, the games are very different. They're very, very different in the way that they play out. And I think actually they both have appealing things. For all the people who comically go on about how 64 is the best thing since sliced bread, It's actually not. In fact, many people that I know, including some quite well-known producers, really don't favour 64 because it's a bit of a clusterfuck. Often it really breaks maps and ruins things because there's often situations where there's just literally such a physical body of people. It reminds me a little bit of Futurama where he's like, you know, just sends his men in, he's like, we'll clog their engines with our dead. It's a little bit like that, where they just literally have such a weight of people. To be honest, 32 to me sounds like the ideal amount of players to have for any kind of game, and I think that would work the best. 64 on many maps, on these huge maps it might work a bit better, but on the majority it's just it's not a great thing. I'd like to see people do 64 armoured shield. That would be kind of comedy. Enjoy that, defenders. But yeah, for the most part, the thing is, console plays out very differently. You can imagine a kind of small force trying to defend a situation and so on and so on. And when you're moving up on Conquest or anything, it's the same. You end up with small battles all the time. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it's just a different style of gameplay. And people who play console as well, that's what you're used to. So therefore, you know, you're fine with it. I am anyway. It doesn't fuss me at all. When people go, oh, I feel so bad, you're missing out. Okay. But it's fine, so whatever. Anyway, so let's look back to the gameplay. Now you can see how people have kind of spread out around the base. If you keep looking around me and at the map, okay, we've got a few people back towards B there, but we've got some people in front and around A. The most important thing is to continue to mark targets, call it out. I said there's a guy going in, power drop on B, marked him as best I could, and you can see a couple of my guys moving back there for that mark. The other thing is to remember to be kind of disciplined. You don't want to chase every single red triangle that you see. This is another really bad thing that people do that loses games. They see one guy and you see 6 people run for that one guy. Meanwhile, another 4 guys flanking the other side of the base and they don't get marked. So this is the kind of thing that can ruin a game. It's very simple things. And you know, unfortunately as well, I'm not going to blame anyone, but if, you know, I was obviously trying to focus on different things. I was trying to keep A covered and I was trying to look at the AC-130. On the left hand side here, there wasn't anyone left because they all ran to B. So there was no one. You can still see on the left hand side of the base, there's nobody there. So it meant that that side was open effectively and it allowed those guys to run in on me. But again, that's not nobody's fault, it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, it does mean that they've kind of managed to get an arm on A here. However, our guys are defending it well, but look, you see, I don't try and disarm it with him, okay? I'm trying to make sure that there's no one coming in to run, throw a grenade, get a kill at the last second, because that is something that happens all the time. There is nothing more frustrating that happens than when they've got a target armed and defenders all sit on top of each other trying to disarm it because they want to get the points, or, you know, they think that other guy's going to get killed. If the guy disarming it is going to get killed, chances are you're going to get killed too. So it doesn't help to have an extra person on it. You know, it might help to have one extra person. And I sometimes say that. I say, okay, if there's one guy disarming it, get on the other side and see if you can, you know, help him out. But everyone else, what you want to do, and you'll see that I do this in games. I think I did it on an Alborz Mountain game. If an objective is armed, turn around and look for enemies, because you want to be making sure that there's no one running up ready to kill those guys off of the objective. You want to keep it clear. So you can see that the guys are having a much better time. I'm still trying to focus taking this AC-130. I had a little bit of a break taking that out, I know, but unfortunately needs must, and the priority was guys running in on the ground. And this is what I say about prioritization. If people aren't dealing with an issue, then unfortunately sometimes you're forced to deal with it, which means you have to stop what you're doing. You know, it wouldn't help me to take the AC-130 down if meanwhile there's, you know, 8 guys overrunning the base. So you really have to look at that. But I just find that the regular same things keep happening again and again, and that honestly, with a good defending team, you can really successfully defend a base. This last base here is not a bad one to defend. And the interesting thing, as I say, is that, you know, when we used to play Bad Company 2, I noticed that the defenders were much more proactive. Every base on Bad Company 2 was very often hard to overcome throughout an entire game. And to be honest, I have footage showing this, so I might post that up to compare to how people generally play Battlefield 3. I think it would be interesting for people to see the differences. But the main reason why people, you know, look, I'm aware of these guys coming in here, but I'm not going to chase those targets. I'm just letting people know they're there. So I was marking those targets, calling them out. You don't need to chase kills. You don't need to focus purely on your KD. We lost several defense games this evening, and yet, unbelievably, our team actually had really good scores. They had excellent KDs. They just had really crap skills at defence. And I got M39. I hate it when you have these semi-autos. I just don't like getting killed by them. It feels cheap. This guy's obviously got his rock camo on. You can see here. He's blending very nicely into that, well, through the rock there. Okay, so coming up into the very, very last part of this video, I hope it's been really successful and shown that basically, you know, you can defend, and you can defend against the AC-130. It just means that you have to have a bit of team focus. And I was really pleased that at the end here, our team really, you know, picked up the ball. We're down to 5 tickets. This is a dangerous, dangerous time, okay? And 5 tickets is when it can... That was incredibly bad. I'm sorry for that. 5 tickets is when you really want to pull in onto the bases, because 5 tickets, 10 tickets... That is going to be the core moment when they really, really push into the base. And it's exactly happening, you know. They're really making a push. So important that our guys now rush very, very hard to those objectives to disarm. And actually, I just remembered, I think it's me that gets the disarm, the final one that wins the game. Thank you very much. Because no one really was running to A. There was one guy on my squad running in. But look, there's the guy in the tank. Nobody's going to it. We've only got one bloody objective left and no one's going for it. And by some miracle right now, I managed to get the disarm. Yay. Yeah, I won. I won the game. Anyway, so that's been my defense game here, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, mediocre gameplay from me as usual. But I think it really does highlight the point that you can win, provided your team's spread out. They do the important prioritization, and they do the things that you should do in defense. All these people complaining, it's not the mechanics of the game. It's your team. And people need to wake up and start realising what it is that they need to do. More to come from me on the way very soon, guys. Thanks for watching as always. Please share, like, subscribe if you enjoy this stuff.